I want to introduce you to Ben Moskowitz, who is working with the Mozilla Foundation, a nonprofit that actually many of us know. Anyone who uses Firefox, Thunderbird, or any of those knows that that's part of the Mozilla ecosystem. Mozilla Foundation is a not-for-profit. Ben is engaged with Mozilla Foundation to actually engage in a competition around the country with developers, hackers, and others who are going to try to take advantage of Genie networks, Gigabit networks, and future networks to try to drive applications and services on top of them. And I wanted our community to hear what's going on in the Mozilla Foundation world and in the Mozilla Challenge that is out there. Please join me in welcoming Ben.
My talk will share a lot of themes with Chip's talk, and there's been no collusion. I just think that we're really on the same page. First, I want to build on what Lev said about Mozilla. A lot of people don't realize that Mozilla is a non-profit organization. You may know we make Firefox. It's a really good browser. You may use it, but unlike some of the other companies engaged in this space, we don't have a profit motive. Our motive is to protect the web. And by the web, I mean not just the protocols and the technologies that make the web, but also the culture of the web. There's a culture of sharing, there's a culture of open source, there's a culture of innovation. And it generates a lot of public benefit. We don't want the web and computers to be like appliances. We don't want to support the mentality that they're these agents where you push a button and they take care of a job for you and they go. We want to retain agency. We want to augment and amplify human intelligence with technology. We think that computers should be more like bikes. And actually, the idea of a bicycle for a mind, the bicycle for the mind, is something that was popularized by Steve Jobs. He had this very well-rehearsed anecdote about how he read an article in Scientific American, and humans actually don't have very much efficiency of locomotion. But if they go on a bike, they're some of the fastest and most efficient animals in the animal kingdom, I should say. But, you know, like a lot of things, he stole it. He stole it, he packaged it, and he make it better. I see your Alan Kay, Chip, and I raise you Vannevar Bush. Vannevar Bush was one of the nation's great scientific leaders around the time of World War II. He was the initiator of the Manhattan Project. And near the end of the war, he published an article that was extremely influential in the Atlantic called As We May Think. And in As We May Think, Vannevar Bush said, "We have bred so much complexity in the modern age. We need machines to begin helping us manage and kind of interface with that complexity." So he projected into the future, and he imagined a device called the Memex. And reading from the Atlantic, I'll just say, this is what Vannevar said: "Consider a future device for individual use, which is sort of a mechanized private file and library. It needs a name, and to coin one at random, Memex will do. A Memex is a device in which an individual stores all his books, records, and communications, and which is mechanized so that it may be consulted with exceeding speed and flexibility. It is an enlarged, intimate supplement to the memory. It augments and amplifies human intelligence." So this is a theme that was picked up by a lot of computer scientists, people like Doug Wilbart, people like Alan Kay, and that's where we get the idea that, you know, a computer can be like a bicycle for the mind. But I think that the metaphor needs to evolve a little bit, because computers aren't really the bicycles for the mind anymore. It's the network. It's the kind of bicycle that we assemble at will from the available hardware, software, services, and people. The network is the bicycle for the mind. Let's take some examples, right? Let's talk about applications, which are interfaces for managing all this incredible complexity. Read a letter, and I'll take this from a human perspective, not from the technology perspective. When you want to read a letter today in modernity, you check your email. And what does it mean to check your email? It's to use an application on a mobile device or a computer, which connects to some far-off cloud through a cell tower and a chain of routers using complex software, and it requires uptime and maintenance. It's tremendously complex, but we need applications, we need design, we need kind of human interface to the complexity of the network. Collaborate with a colleague. Think about something like Google Docs. Google Docs is similarly very complex. You need to collaborate in real time over a persistent document, and then it needs to be stored, very complex. Get information. Wikipedia. complexity of not only hardware, software, services, but also human beings, which I think is really interesting. Which brings us to the idea of the gig, which is what we're here to talk about today. What is a gig for? History is littered with lots of very short-sighted statements, like this one that Bill Gates allegedly made in 1981. 640K of memory should be enough for anyone. He vehemently denies that he says this, but lots of people did. Here's another one. I literally can't imagine any app needing more than 10 megabits per second of bandwidth. I've actually heard this more than once this year. And what's my answer to that? What's our answer to that? Well, I mean, you see some of the answer today, but to be honest, I don't think that we have a really good singer. We don't have a really good one just yet, because we can't predict how changes in computational scale will change our human experience. We just can't do it. We either wildly overestimate, like this comic strip from the 40s, by 2016 man's intelligence and intellect will be able to increase by drugs and by linking human brains directly to computers. Or it's kind of hopelessly anachronistic, like this AT&T video, which kind of predicted the rise of e-commerce and shopping, but it just doesn't feel quite right. Like, why would I be watching a single product? Why would I be holding the phone to my head? Why would I be inserting my credit card directly in the terminal? Hopelessly anachronistic. But, like a lot of people have said, we need to just begin inventing the future. We need to try. We need to continue innovating and we need to push. So the US Ignite Initiative is here to do just that. And our role, Mozilla's role, in the entire initiative is to work with the range of partners, and all of you, hopefully, to kind of build a gigabit bike shop, I'll call it. We want to work with you to kind of build and tune and assemble and research what these bicycles for the mind could be. We have $500,000 in awards and incentives for people who come in and be very experimental and run lots of experiments and see what we can do with these new technologies. We're talking about public benefit applications. We're talking about building a community of practice with people who are coming in, running quick experiments, seeing what works, talking to users, perhaps combining technologies, combining users, a real kind of renaissance. And we like to think of it as a bit of a hacker, tinkerer, gnomish workshop, a gigabit bike shop, if you will. Here's some quick examples. Imagine the ability to pull 3D models from across the web to create persistent learning spaces. So if I want to teach you about any kind of historical battle, if I want to teach you about fluid mechanics, if I want to teach you about anything, let's do it in a simulation. So we've had lots of hack days and events where people come and they build essential pieces of what these apps will need to have. Libraries, building blocks, tools that will someday assemble and make these apps from the future that we're talking about. Macro visualization, right? So we're engaged in the election right now. How cool would it be to run a search term and instantly get all videos in public record that match that search term? So every time the meme of everyone paying their fair share and getting a fair shot, that's a meme that's spreading. Can we visualize it? Can we see every instance of that meme? We've had experiments, hacks, and demos coming through the US Ignite program like that. They're quite cool. They give people the ability to see the media and see kind of public discourse, almost like they're looking into a crystal ball. Also looking at ways that we can use low-cost technologies to do things that feel very futuristic. You may have seen the Kinect sensor. It's a Microsoft device. It's a gaming device, actually, but they're really cheap. They're $100. And they can generate these 3D images. They can generate these depth maps. And so we've done hacks. We've done experiments where people take the Kinect sensor and they sit it down and they take a depth image of a person. And bringing it into a computer and bringing it into a 3D scene, you can actually create 3D holography. Like Star Trek holographic video conferencing with a $100 piece of hardware in your web browser, which is really cool. And that's the kind of thing that we think, while maybe not super practical now, is going to make up a set of building blocks that will enable us to make these applications that we all want to see, that are really going to augment and amplify human ability. So let me close out here. And I want to ask you, in your mental model of what a gigabit means, not to think of a single app, not to think of one killer app, but to think about what it will be for your average home internet user, your average home web user, to use a whole suite of these apps. Think about what it will be if you're a student writing a paper, or if you're a journalist investing what I'll do is I'll skip the Vannevar Bush stuff. I think he's a great guy. You should go to Wikipedia and read all about him. And impress upon you that I think it's not just more internet that we're talking about, it's more human potential. It's a bigger surface area for the mind. As we move from talking about things in baud to megabits per second to gigabits per second, we're talking about a bigger surface area, for the mind. And so I'm going to use URL, which is MozillaIgnite.org. I have so much more to say, unfortunately. So, MozillaIgnite.org. Join our Gigabit Bike Shop. Whether you're a developer or you have a community